Okay, good day everyone. This is lesson 2 for Introduction to MICE. Lesson 2 will be all about strategic planning with the following objectives. Um, you are expected to define strategic planning, develop different goals and objectives for a specific event, and discuss the importance of strategic planning. Strategic planning. Strategy, as defined in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, is a careful plan for achieving a goal. Two things stand out in this definition. Number one, there has to be a careful plan, and number two, a goal has to be achieved. So you have to keep that in mind when making a strategic plan. There must always be a plan. From the term plan itself, it has to be a careful plan, strategically mapped out, and it has to be objective and goal oriented. So, um, in planning an event, it requires strategic planning because you need to carefully study everything that is needed or necessary for an event to be successful. As an event manager, one must take into consideration existing barriers and identify resources such as people, funding, and materials essential to achieving the desired outcome. Now, these are very essential and necessary when planning an event, because if you do not have people to help you, you will not be able to perform tasks that are required. If you do not have enough funding, you will not be able to look for necessary resources. And if you do not have the correct materials, then your event may lead to failure. So, the strategic planning and focus planning are employed by the event manager in designing the event concept, determining the outcome desired, visualizing all the event elements, and laying down the framework for implementation to achieve the desired results. Now, strategic planning, this is done before the event happens. You do not plan after the event. Kinahanglan before mag-start ng event, you've laid out your strategic plan. How are you going to approach this? How are you going to look for funds if you're organizing a fundraising event? Who will sponsor the event? Who are your speakers if you are organizing a seminar or a conference, mga ingon ana. It needs to happen before the event and not while it is happening. During the event manager must focus purely on the implementation of the event plan. This is strategic planning is done before, kay samtang nag-proceed ang event or nagkanda ka sa event, you are focused on the implementation of what you have planned before the event. So, ano siya, by strategically planning an event, defining clear goals, and coming up with an event plan, clarity and focus are achieved. Dili ka magkatibulaag, especially when you are planning or organizing a very large event that has so many participants from or delegates coming from, for example, it's an international event, so coming from different countries. Now, how do you set the expectation whenever you conduct or you organize an event? You need to understand your client's needs. So, you need to ask your client the following question aron magkasinabtanay mo sa sugod palang daan. This will help you determine if you can work together with that client on that specific event. Kaya basin dili mo magkasinabot. So, the first thing you have to ask is, what kind of event is he or she planning? Kanus when and where do you want to hold your event, and the number of expected guests. What is your budget per person, or what are your top 3 non-negotiable must-have for your events? For example, it's a wedding and you're talking with the bride. Pangutanan nimo siya unsay top 3 nga dili pwede mawala sa imong event, then moingon siya nga I want to have this, this, and this. Sige, for example, dili siya gusto nga mawala ang part sa reception wherein i-throw niya yung bouquet. Dili siya gusto nga walay dessert station, and dili siya gusto nga pangit ang MC. So mga yun ana nga mga expectations coming from a client. And what are the 3 things you do not want to happen at your event? Like, mayroon siya, dili ko gusto nga boring akong program. Dili ko gusto nga magkagubot akong guests, and dili ko gusto nga dili sa garden akong wedding. Mga yun na. How will you evaluate the event if it is unsuccessful? So, anon pa lang daan, imo siyang tagaan og the first meetup, tagaanan nimo si client og idea nga there would be certain scenarios or happenings nga dili nimo control, which might lead to the event become unsuccessful. Masuko ba siya? Di na ba siya mobalik? Sabton ba kaniya? Or na ba siya mga na ba siya mga parusang ay hatag sa imo? So, in the first meet up with your client, you set the expectation. Expectation nimo as the event organizer, and expectation niya as the client, so that it will not lead to misunderstanding. So, once you've met your client, you already have an event, the next step is for you to set your goals and objectives. Kinagi mo man tag strategic plan. So, you've met the client, you know what the event, how many people, pila yung budget, unsay gusto niya mahitabo. You then proceed to setting goals and objectives. So, this is a brief review from our subject the previous semester nga strategic planning. But ang kuan lang ani is nakafocus siya sa event. So, event goals are the destinations. They define the purpose of the event and answer the question, why is the event being done? So, in setting the reasons for holding an event may vary. Events can be done to educate, to inform, to announce, to gather people, to persuade, to convince, or to celebrate. Muna siya mga common nga kuan. On the other hand, event objectives serves as the roadmap for accomplishments. They measure progress in attaining the event goals, and it is very important that objectives are detailed, and we have to make sure that they follow the SMART principle, which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So, di na ako na-elaborate kay 4th year na ba mo na kuan na ninyo, na dasmagan na ninyo kapila nga mga terms. So, here is an example on how to set your event goal and objective. So, for example, you are organizing the 25th corporate anniversary of a specific company. Your goal is to celebrate. So, muna siya, i-celebrate ninyo 25 years of the company's operation. So, muna siya. The goal is very general. Whereas, when it comes to setting the event objectives, kinahanglan specific na ka. Unsay gusto mahitabo ninyo ana nga celebration. So, you follow specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So, number 1, to show appreciation for the patronage of 80% of the client's corporate customers at a formal 500-person dinner party. So, nadiya si specific. Gi-specify yun o pila ka percent sa ilahang client ang ilahang tagaan og appreciation. So, muna siya measurable, and as well as included ang 500 katawo nga naa sa dinner party. It's attainable because that's only 80% and kaya siya sa budget sa company. Relevant to the event goal, na siya related siya sa inyong main goal, which is to celebrate the 25th year of the corporation, and it's time bound because it would only be happening during that specific night. So the rest will follow na dayon. To recognize and reward top 5 corporate customers that have been doing business with the company, to recognize and reward top 10 longest serving loyal employees, and to recognize and show appreciation to top 10 suppliers. So yun ana maghimo og objectives. Gamit ni siya when you are making an FS. So, after setting your goals and objectives, you will now determine your event feasibility. So feasibility is defined as a state of being easily done. So a feasibility study is defined as an analysis and evaluation of a proposed project to determine if it is technically feasible. Is it feasible within the estimated cost and will be profitable? So let's bring feasibility study in the context of event. So the event organizer must evaluate the following to determine the overall feasibility of an event. Prior to the start ni siya of an event, inyo daang studyhan if possible ba ang mga giset nga request schedules, mga budget, mga venue nga gi-set ni client ug ma-meet ba ninyo to. So you study that. So we have number 1, time feasibility. When does the client want to hold the event? Check the calendar for holidays or long weekends on the client's preferred date as this may affect attendance. For example, if you're organizing a conference and you are about to invite specific speakers and kinahanglan clear pud sila ana nga schedule nga giset sa imong client. Then the organizer book the event venue, invite delegates, sell sponsorships or exhibit booths, prepare the program, its staging requirements within the given time frame. If for example, nagpabook siya 2 weeks prior sa iyang giset nga date and then ang event is kasal, kaya ba nimong organize og kasal in the span of 2 weeks? Mga nana. If the client insists on certain elements for the event, example, getting a famous performer to provide entertainment, check his or her availability immediately. If the event requires a complicated setup, determine if the venue is available pre-event for a longer ingress or kanang process. Like, gusto siya extensive ang decoration, pahimon niya ang isa ka event hall into a garden, kay gusto siya indoor, kay bagyo pero gusto siya garden wedding, mga near impossible requests coming from the client. So you have to determine is it feasible, timely ba siya nga kaya ra ba ninyo makahimo ana given the specific lead time from the booking to the exact event date. So mana siya. Financial feasibility will follow, so it would be foolish to undertake an event without first determining if there are sufficient funds to cover all the expected costs. So, apil man na siya sa inyong istoryahan, the budget. An event organizer must first identify all the possible event expenses to avoid unforeseen financial problems. So, kinahanglan, imo na ang i-plan out, i-apil mo sa imong budget proposal to be presented to your clients, all possible tanang mo na-unaan nimo nga pwede gastuan so that dili ka magka-short and dili ka magsigig pangayo og money from the client if he or she is the one paying for the event. It is important to know where the funds will be sourced from. The event organizer must know if the client will be able to advance some funds so that deposits made on the venue can be paid and the event will have a starting operational fund. Now, naagid tayo mga client nga labad. They expect too much from us nga nindot kay atong ma-deliver nga event, but they do not help us na ay mga gahi kayo wherein magduha-duha og hatag sa kwarta for deposit kay makaingon og kanang kita mismo ang mogamit as event organizer. Napoy uban nga very generous and very trusting, so you have to prepare yourself for those types of clients. If the event is reliant on delegate registration fees, for example, kanang sa conference, as well as cash sponsorships, the organizer must know when the funds are expected to come in. So, if ang ipa-organize sa imuha is a conference or a convention wherein mag-register ang mga participants, then katong registration ang gamiton, so you need to tell your client to inform you kanus maabot ang mga funds or kanus siya available. Without proper and careful study of an event's financial feasibility, the event organizer may end up shouldering most of the expenses. So, mo ni siya kinahanglan nato likayan. Kay kung dili nato i-plan out sa ato ang event or the financial feasibility of our event, kita dyan mutapan. Technical feasibility. The client must be able to provide a clear list of his or her requirements for the events. This will be evaluated by the organizer to gauge if he or she will be able to deliver and address the demands of the client. It is essential to know from the client what they liked and did not like about previous events, like for example, balik-balik sila nag-organize nimo, and what they would like to see in the forthcoming event. So an event is highly dependent on certain technical factors. So below, or as you can see on the screen, primary factors. Here are some primary factors that need to be considered when measuring events technical feasibility. Number one is venue. When scouting for a venue, ensure that it is accessible and can comfortably accommodate all invited participants. There must be enough facilities for all elements of the event as required by the client. So if there will be a breakout sessions, there must be enough time in setting up the venue. It is also significant to check if the venue can carry the load of heavy machinery required for a particular event. For example, international exhibit of printing machines or cars or big bikes, mga ingon ana. The venue should also be accessible to people with disabilities or mga PWDs. So there should be ramps, elevators, and restrooms nga para ana nila. The venue must conform also strategically and thematically to the event's goals. If you are planning or if you're organizing an event that is a black tie gala dinner, so meaning formal, for instance, it would best be held at a posh 5-star hotel, while open fields may be more appropriate for a music and arts festival. So the brand image of the destination must be a good fit for the event and its expected delegates to attract participants. Muna siya sa venue. Then, accommodations. Now, some events require accommodations like kanang tag 3 days na conferences, seminars, and ano. Availability of sufficient accommodation choices is important. If 3,000 non-resident guests are expected to attend a 3-day conference at a resort destination, there must be enough rooms for the guests. So, pil na ninyo og plan. If the venue itself cannot provide sufficient rooms, then there should be nearby hotels and resorts or even mga bed and breakfast options that can augment accommodations. There should be a sufficient range of accommodation options to cater to different markets. Kaya may mga katong gusto mag-stay gid og social nga hotel, katong mga nagtipid, katong mga okay lang, maski sa ibutang. So, dapat taganin mo na sila options. The organizer is also responsible for checking if there are other events taking place that will compete with his or her event's accommodation requirements. Kaya basin og masuko inyong mga guests or inyong participants, kaya wala dahil sila katulgan. Transportation. The organizer is also responsible for ensuring how the delegates will travel from their hotels to the event venue and vice versa. So, kinahanglan i-appeal na siya sa plan. Pwede nga mag-provide og shuttle services or mag-abang og mga public transportation nga pwede mo support sa movement from one venue to another. Accessibility. The venue must be easily accessible to the participants whether by land, air, or sea. Flight schedules and the proximity of the airport to the venue should be considered, as well as the travel time from the airport or the hotel venue. Social functions and meals. So, inanim na siya mga stay-in as well as kanang mga day-long seminars na man jud tay meals nga appeal. So, social functions planned for the event such as a welcome or gala dinner should be planned according to the needs of the participants. Like for example, na welcome program or na ay kanang a short opening program. So, apilo na nimo plan before the exact nga day of the start of the conference, seminar, meeting, or any other event. Special media requirements must be considered by the organizer. Like the team should also decide if meals will be served in the same room as the actual meeting or in a separate room. You must also take note of certain allergies from your guest. Kaya basin og kinahanglan nyo i-change ang menu. So mga yun na. Internet connection. Everybody lives on the internet today. So kinahanglan you have to make sure that everyone has access in the venue with internet. Or if wala man gani na ay signal, kung walay wireless fidelity, at least na ay signal so they can use their own data connections. Electricity. So, to prevent any inconvenience while the program is ongoing, so you have to check beforehand if there are other sources in the event venues in case of sudden power failure. So, muna siya, apili mo nang i-plan. Equipment, the availability of equipment required for staging the event, like your sounds, lights, projectors, computers, your stage, mga unsa pa nang mga kinahanglan natong equipment. If wala na dito sa venue gi-provide, you have to make sure na ma-produce na nimo if it is needed. And finally, staffing, the people who are going to work with you. Having sufficient personnel to plan, organize, and implement the event is crucial. There should be enough nga qualified, capable, and trained staff to do all the work required. If there are not enough available staff now, so mangita na kadaan sa imuhang aha ka maka-hire. Then, finally is risk feasibility. There are always possible risks, which would include such as health. Does the venue present any health risk to the participants? Like karon yung nani nga COVID, wag lisod tag-organize o face-to-face nga mga events. In case of accidents or health issues, is there adequate first aid provisions close by? Naabay mga hospital sa duol? Security, like in case of fire, is there sufficient means to combat the fire? Naabay mga visible fire exits? Is there sufficient security provisions to keep out unwanted or dangerous intruders? Naabay mga security personnel i-provide ang venue. Safety. So, is there an event safety process in place? Exit doors clearly marked and lighted? Is there a trained and capable security officer in charge? Finance. So, does the financial analysis point to a healthy outcome? So, i-analyze ni mo daan na ba kay profit mo, break even ba ka, or magansi ka na nga event. And it would also include your reputation. I-risk ni mo yung reputation as an event organizer. So, what would be the effect of this event? Will it boost your reputation or ma-epic fail ba imuhang reputation? Ma-damage ba siya? And what are you going to do to minimize the chances of this nga mga risk? Then finally, we have support feasibility. So for an association event, having the full support of the board and its members spells the difference between success and failure. For example, you are tasked to organize, like, ikaw mismo susulod sa company ang ipo-organize. So you need the support of everyone in that company. Dili lang kay solohon nimo ang tanan. Many of those tasked to work on association events are unpaid volunteers who will need to devote a great deal of their time and resources to attend meetings and work on their assignments. So, if you're given this task, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to take on the job? Kaya ba nimo to make such sacrifices? Because I know some of you who were with us when we organized the Congress, especially katong mga officers, we work voluntarily man adto, wala man tayo nadawat. So, it's like that when working on big events. It's hard, but if you see the outcome, it's also quite fulfilling right after. So, mo to siyang mga things to do when creating a strategic plan prior to the event. So, we will now proceed to developing concepts. So, this is a quick template on how to properly plan an event. We will be answering the 5 W's and the 1 H. So, the 5 W's is why, who, what, when, and where. And 1H is how. So this is the most basic questions that you ask prior to planning an event. This will also help you create a very good strategic plan of whatever event you are organizing. So in this part, this is your chance to be creative. You will think of an event concept that will meet the objectives of the different stakeholders like the host, the organizer, exhibitors, and your guests. So, why? You're going to ask why are you doing this event? So, there are many reasons for organizing events. So, pwede siyang to strengthen connections in certain associations or big companies, recruit new members, raise the level of professionalism, introduce new ideas, share best practices, or raise operating funds. Pwede man po charity events. So, if you're organizing an event for a client, determine the reasons for holding the event. It is good to have all the reasons out in the open so that you can address them. If you don't, they may be evaluating your event differently from you. Kaya makasinabot mo sa inyong client. Networking is also one of the main reasons why people attend these events. So by attending these events, people acquire new contacts and develop stronger ties with existing contacts for business success. So they can find new customers, new suppliers, new investors, mga business opportunities, business partners, mga nana. That's one of the reasons why they attend events. And why will people, the third question, possible question that you may ask is why will people pay to attend my event? If your primary purpose for the event is to raise funds, you have to understand why people will want to pay the event or pay sponsorship fees. Focus on the reason to drive up participation. So if their reason is nga when they sponsor, ma-promote ilahang business, so you have to focus on that nga imuha yung ayuhon nga mabalik sa ilaha ang gibayad nila in order for you to organize that event. Why will an organization want to sponsor my event? So, mo ni siya nga mga reasons ang possible reasons to boost their credibility in the industry, to connect to their target market, enhance public perception and brand awareness, gain media exposure, to have engagements with their current customers and possibly find new ones, and then generate sales leads, and finally to launch new products or services. So mo na siya yung mga reasons nga mag-sponsor sila sa imong event. Then we proceed to the next W, which is who. Who is the client? So the key to delivering a great event is to understand your client. Study clearly how they want the event to go, what they want to happen to the event, know their wants, needs, and desires. Do your research. Get to know the organization or the person that you are dealing with. Look at the event from their point of view, dili sa imong point of view. Who are your clients' customers? What will they be interested in? So direct all your efforts towards pleasing your client. Who is your target market? So create a profile of your target participants. It could be by nationality, age, gender, religion, position in the organization, length of stay in the organization, memberships in organizations, clubs, education, annual income, place of residence, type of accommodation, their specific diet, do they have smoking and drinking habits, online behavior, shopping habits, leisure activities, hobbies, and many more things that you need to know about your target market. You have to also know who will provide the funds for the event. So determine the source of the operating funds. Ang client ba ang muhatag or is it a fundraising event? Are you expected to provide the starting capital of the event? Ana. So these are very important questions you need to raise prior to accepting a specific event. Who will comprise the event management team? So, no man is an island, dili pwede nga ikaw rin mo trabaho isa. So, you will definitely need to work, definitely need to work with others to have a successful event. So, look within your organization. If you're already an established events company, so look into that. Do you have enough manpower to organize and manage all the things needed or all the different aspects of the event from the pre-event, on-site, and the post-event proper as well as the post-event. Will you need to outsource? Kinahanglan ba ka mag-hire og mga bag-o so that you can um, properly perform the assigned tasks? So, na siya. Then, ato ta sa what. What does the event manager need to accomplish? So be clear on what you want to accomplish for a particular event. This can be specific like the number of participants or visitors na kay giset nga goal, number of sponsors, number of exhibitors, lead generation. Envision exactly how you want the event to go. Then work backwards. What are the things that needs to be done? List them down and make sure that they are part of the event plan. What are the desired event outcomes? Imagine the desired effect of your event on the various stakeholders. What are the criteria or key performance indicators for success from the points of view of the host and the client? So should you look at the ROI or the return on investment? Do you count the leads generated, the number of delegates? So, mo na siya. Mag-base ni number 2 sa imong giset nga goals and objectives. Number 3, what kind of event will meet these outcomes? So, what you determine what should be the different components of the events. Kinahanglan ba siya o daghan ba og meetings, mga breakout sessions, kinahanglan ba og specific room wherein mag-exhibit for a certain product launching, formal or informal ba ang mga social events nga mahitabo, ana. What marketing support is needed to achieve the outcomes? So, what are the available marketing and promotion support that can be generated internally? Ikan sa inyong company, events company mismo, or will you need external services like kinahanglan ba ninyo mo tap og mga media personnel for the marketing boost? What resources are needed to make the event happen? So how much startup or revolving funds should you have? How much time do you need to organize the event? What kind of registration software do you need to handle online registrations? Mga yun na inyong i-factor. And then we have when. So when is the event expected to take place? The exact date, the best month, day, and time. Check if there are holidays that coincide or nabay mga certain conflicts sa mga i-invite niyo ng mga guests and participants. And how much lead time is needed to prepare for the event. Some events require only a week of preparation while others need several months. So kinahanglan i-determine niyo na siya because the longer the preparation, the better the event. Where? Mahitabo ang event. Where will the event take place? Where does each part of the event take place? Like for example, it's a 3-day event. So the first day yun kaning diri nga hotel, the next day is dito nga specific nga venue related to the topics nga inyong gi-discuss or sa focus sa conference, mga yun ana. Where will the food be served? Will it be kanang plated? Will they take it sitting down or is it a buffet dinner? Maabay specific nga lugar wherein dito lang jud nila i-partake ilahang breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then it's another place na pod nga mobalik sila for the conference proper, mga yun ana. Where will the program be staged? So if there are specific number of programs, so kinahanglan inyo po nang i-factor og aha na siya ang mga specific locations ana. As well as the accommodation of the delegates. Where will the guests be staying? And where will the meetings be held? So, for example, mega events that require numerous organizational meetings, agree on how often and where the meetings will be held. So, kinahanglan i-check po nimo na siya like in big corporations man good kasagara ang mga board members or board of trustees, they like to meet with themselves lang so kinahanglan ang kay specific nga location wherein it's always available for them to sit down and talk among themselves. And then so mo to siya ang 5 W's. Let's go to how. How will the event be promoted? So daghan na kay tag options ron. It could be online, it could be social networks, newspaper advertisements, mga telephone calls, TV ads. Ngayon na. How will the target audience be reached and informed of the event? So, develop an overall concept, theme, and format that meets your objectives and speaks to your target audience. That will make them want to attend the event. Catch your audience attention by crafting your message to fit their interests. So, use their language. If your target audience are millennials, so kinahanglan ang language nga imong gigamit masabta nila. If it's on a formal tone because you're targeting those who are generation XYZ, so i-fit pod nimo adto sa ilahang language. How will the guests or visitors be convinced to purchase your products for a trade show or product exhibition, for example? So, select venues that appeal to your target market. For instance, a premium luxury watch may be launched at an invitation-only cocktail event and at an exclusive membership club hosted by a popular socialite. So, whereas a fashion watch for teenage girls may be launched at a mall with the performances of a hit boy band. So, depende na siya sa product na imong gi-launch. If it's luxurious and the target audience are those of the formal audience, so formal po imuhang venue as well as your approach to them. If it's for a younger age, pare atong example nga teenage fashion watch, so pwede ra pod nga sa mall and then a different nga panghatak sa attention, nga makahatak sa attention sa teenagers karon. How will you inject the wow factor in the event? So you make your event stand out by coming up with a unique selling proposition or a USP that will distinguish it from other events. So this will attract people and make them talk about the event long after it is over. You have to do this by doing research and brainstorming with your team. The use of new technology for delegate engagement such as lights and sounds play to open a festival, a non-traditional keynote by a world-famous athlete at a medical convention, a special slow food dinner using local organic ingredients prepared by a Michelin-starred chef for media are great USP ideas. So, mga example to sila. Like, nganong wow, and why is it different from other events, inyuhang event? And finally, how will you select the event theme? So you have to develop an overall theme that will tie all marketing and promotion activities. Materials and collaterals must be developed into a cohesive and well-orchestrated template. So incorporate the theme into the whole affair, like gikan sa invitation, sa website, sa Facebook page, sa advertisement. So mo na gyud siya dayon ang makita, as well as on the event proper wherein sa stage, sa decoration, sa table setup, ang food and drinks, as well as the souvenirs nga ma-receive nila, makita dito daan ang theme. As well as in the program, the choices of music, lighting, entertainment, and side events. So, ana inyuhang himuon. And you have to remember that in any event, make sure that you make an impact on all the 5 senses of your client, from sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, aron mahinumduman nila inyuhang event. So, to create a then, if you've already planned sa imong goals, sa imong objectives, you've answered the 5 W's and the 1 H, you then determine your timeline. Create a realistic timeline and action plan. Project yourself into the future up to the day of the event. Then work backward with your team. So here are some key questions you need to address as an event organizer. You just read through that. Akong mo proceed ko sa discussion on how you map out your activities in a timeline. So for example na ni siya ha. Mo ni siya imong gi-set out nga mga activities. So kanus-an nimo na gusto mahitabo. So we have here, if you notice, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 0, and then 1, 2, 3. So this is 4 weeks. Kaning 4, 3, 2, 1, 4 weeks prior to the event. 0 is the actual day of the event. And then 1 is after the day of the event. For example, it's a 3-day seminar. So, ang day 1 is day 0 ang equivalent ana. So prepare, for example, when are you going to prepare your event token? So imong gidarken din 2 weeks prior to the start of the event. When will you finalize the venue and catering arrangement? So 1 week. When are you going to hire a photographer and prepare funds? So 1 week prior to the event. Kanus amo mo adto sa venue? When are you going to hold the press conference to inform everyone of the event? So sa day 0 na siya on the actual start. And then you monitor those press releases 1 week after or 2 weeks after the event. So mo na siya yung nana maghimo. This is also known as a Gantt chart. Very useful in mapping out your timelines. And then we also have to determine your financial goals, kay when we manage an event, especially if we have our own events company, syempre, we want to gain profit from the hard work. So, you have to identify, number one, identify all the event costs, ang fixed cost o ang variable cost. Determine your fund sources. Will the client pay for everything? Or are you expected to raise additional revenues from registration fees, sponsor fees, exhibition or booth rental fees to help in funding the event? Then you compute your potential profit. So this is the difference between the fund sources and the total cost, fixed plus variable cost. And then compute your break-even level. If you're charging entrance fees or exhibit fees, compute how much revenues you need to raise to break even with your cost. Like, mamaligya kag ticket for an exhibition, so i-compute nimo dani mong total cost o pila ka ticket pod ang dapat nimong ibaligya aron mabawi to nimo nga cost so that ma-break even siya. So, another additional key in starting or developing and organizing an event is preparing your checklist so that you will not miss any important matters. Wala kay makalimtan. So you prepare a checklist. So here are sample activities, a table actually, wherein nakabutang din sa first column ang set activities. Right after mo follow ang kinsa gi-assign nimo for that specific activity, kanus ato mag-start and kanus siya ma-complete. So, mana siya, guys. Then, as people become more concerned with the environment, we are beginning to embrace sustainability as part of all our practices. So, there should also be sustainability in an event. So, during the strategic planning phase, the event manager should incorporate sustainability and maximize event resources. So, mo ni siyang mga gina-practice nga sustainable practices in the event management. We have the 4 R's na siya: rethink, reduce, reuse, and recycle. Promote paperless communication by communicating electronically. Conduct online marketing through social media. So, paperless na siya, dili ta magsig kalas og papel. If we are going to give something to the people joining the event, so we need to use biodegradable and environment-friendly materials. Post-speaker presentations, dili na nato i-print. They can be downloaded instead through PowerPoint bakaron or any other software na gigamit ni speaker. And when selecting a venue, opt for those that already have sustainable practices in place. And confirm the final number of attendees at least 2 days before the event to eliminate excess food and wastage. And then, when selecting the menu, ask the caterer to source food in season from local vendors to help them. And use reusable plates, cups, glasswares, and cutlery instead of disposables. So, muna siya ang strategic planning. So, these are all the vital aspects when planning an event. Kinahanglan, we need to familiarize ourselves if we plan on branching out on a specific part sa ato ang hospitality industry. So, it involves a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of brainstorming, and conceptualizing. So, that ends lesson 2. Thank you for listening.